Hey, what's up, guys? So the Pro Bowl rosters came out a few days ago. I'm sorry I didn't do a video sooner, just because I'm home for the holidays, so it's kind of hard to get some quiet in the house to do this stuff. But anyways, the rosters came out a few days ago, and immediately, of course, everyone flipped out about the players who were not, in the Pro Bowl, who they thought should have been. So it's really, I'm not going to be talking about the players who are in the Pro Bowl as much this time around as I'm going to be talking probably should have been in the Pro Bowl that aren't. You can see we're on NFL.com right now. They do a good job of this kind of stuff. So I just have this up for reference. And the players I think I should have been in the Pro Bowl. And so here, a list of Pro Bowl snubs. You can see it's a long list, obviously. So obviously you couldn't put all these guys in, but these are guys who at least had really good consideration for it, or are past Pro Bowlers who for some reason did not get in this year. So right off the top, we have Harrison Smith, who's actually I think rated by it was Pro Football Focus is the best safety in the NFL. He's not the best safety in the NFL. That's not right in my opinion. But you want to look at the guys who are it's Rashad Jones and Micah Hyde for the AFC and Eric Weddle for the AFC. So obviously he can't be in that group. Although I believe he's better than probably all three of those guys. And then for the NFC they have Malcolm Jenkins, Landon Collins, and Earl Thomas. I believe he's better than Malcolm Jenkins for sure. I think he's better than Landon Collins too, to be honest. I think the only safeties better than him, in my opinion, are probably Earl Thomas, Eric Berry, and maybe Cam Chancellor. So Harrison Smith definitely should be in, and when if one of these guys opts out, he definitely needs to be the first guy to put in because he's just too good not to have at the Pro Bowl. That's just ridiculous. Our snubs here for quarterbacks, the noble names. The noble names of Jared Goff and Alex Smith. The only issue I have with that is because they were good enough to probably get in. The biggest thing is I don't see there's not a quarterback that I would take out of the lineups of the guys they picked to insert those guys. Like I said, it's just a situation where they're good, but the competition, the quarterbacks ahead of them, are better. Although Carson Wentz will be out. He obviously is not going to be playing the Pro Bowl, so the NFC will need another quarterback, and that's probably going to be Jared Goff or Case Keenum. For running backs, they have Jordan Howard and Leonard Fournette. So Jordan Howard's with the Bears. He's basically been their offense the entire year. And definitely was deserving of consideration. He should probably be one of those guys who's a perennial Pro Bowler, but you can instead put both Saints running backs in. And my one issue with that is they were both good. They're probably both deserving of a Pro Bowl vote. And Kamara's yards per carry is ridiculous, but the only reason Kamara's in this is all-purpose yards. He's a good running back. He's a great running back, but he doesn't even have 700 rushing yards, I don't think. So that's my issue with that. I'd probably put Jordan Howard in above Kamara, if I'm being honest, because he's really good when he touches the ball, but he just doesn't have that workload that really would just as a running back that would justify me putting him in ahead of Jordan Howard. And then there's Leonard Fournette in the AFC. But if we look at the AFC again, it's a situation where I don't know who I would replace for him. I would like all three of the running backs that are here. I probably would keep all three of them. Leonard Fournette's deserving of a Pro Bowl. He just probably has to wait for one of them to bow out. Just one of them might. But I don't see where I would put him in for. Because Kareem Hunt's ahead of him in the Rookie of the Year voting, in my opinion. Well, Sean McCoy's had a very good year as well. He doesn't have the touchdown numbers that Fournette does. But McCoy's also been on a worse team this year, so I would don't see anyone. I would like to put Fournette in. I just don't see anyone for him to replace. We have Damon Harrison, who you don't know is a defensive tackle for the Giants. The biggest issue with him is he's more of a nose tackle almost, in the sense that he's not a sack artist. He's a run stopper. He takes up a lot of space. And if you look at the interior linemen, you have a bunch of guys who are good at getting sacks. You also make tackles in the run, but also get who record a decent number of sacks a year. Damon Harrison does not do that, and that's why he constantly gets overlooked for a Pro Bowl spot. Yannick Ngakoue, I think I said that right. Anyways, he's the defensive end for the Jaguars. He's overlooked largely. He plays opposite Calais Campbell, who is a Pro Bowler. In my opinion, he actually probably could replace Khalil Mack, because Mack has a brand name. Ngakoue actually had a better than Khalil Mack did, so far at least. He's had a better year. He's a second-year player with 11 sacks, 21 tackles. I think he had a better year than Khalil Mack, in my opinion, especially in terms of just being a pass rusher. So, in my opinion, he should be in ahead of Khalil Mack. Go back to the list. The linebackers for the Jaguars. In my opinion, they're both Pro Bowl talents. The issue is I don't know if there's enough, I don't think there's enough players to replace. You can't go in, look at this linebacker group and say, oh, I would replace him and put Miles Jack or Telvin Smith in instead. There's no easily replaced player, in my opinion, on this list. I would keep all, it's hard. It's just so many good players. It's hard to select a few. But as we know, Ryan Shazier will not be there. Obviously, he's recovering from his injury. He's starting physical rehab, which is good. So he won't be there. Who knows if all the outside linebackers will be there. Telvin Smith probably ranks ahead of Miles Jack in terms of, who should get there first. And Telvin Smith, his sack numbers are always low. I think he plays outside linebacker, but his sack numbers come up low. He's not really a blitzer. He's more of a kind of a tackler. He plays good in pass and good in the run. He's one of the fastest linebackers in the league behind it. But, in my opinion, he's probably a guy who couldn't have made the Pro Bowl the last 2 years. So he's definitely was deserving this year too, especially with the wins that the Jaguars are racking up. Speaking of Cameron Hayward, 10 sacks for Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh already put 8 players in. Cameron Hayward's definitely a guy who probably should have gotten in. He's been a borderline, and he kind of broke through this year. His first 10 sack year of his career, first 10 sack season for Steelers. You see 10 sacks, 27 tackles, right up there with Ngakoue and Khalil Mack. It also hurts him because he plays the interior line a little bit too. He plays a 3-4 a lot of times. So Hayward's not an edge rusher as much as some other linebackers are. I mean, it's our linebackers. Our defensive linemen are, like Khalil Mack. Hayward plays more of a run-stopping position, and sometimes gets shifted even interior to the defensive tackle spot during certain games. Blake Martinez. Blake Martinez is a linebacker for the Packers. He's probably a guy you never really heard of. He's better than Packer linebacker. Before him was kind of you had AJ Hawk, and then you had Clay Matthews. Now it's Blake Martinez. He's kind of replacing the aging Clay Matthews as the linebacker for the Packers. And in my opinion, he should get consideration in the future. Justin Tucker is my next name on the list, the kicker for the Ravens. We obviously know he's great. The reason he didn't get in this year is 3 game-winning field goals. Not last week, but the 3 weeks prior to that, he had game-winning field goals every time, along with tying or setting a record for the longest kick in Heinz Field history. So, that's the reason Ty Tucker isn't in. But ordinarily, it would be him if it just wasn't for Boswell's late game heroics. And next we have Julius Peppers. Now I know Peppers. Here's the thing with Peppers. He doesn't play a lot of downs because he's an aging lineman, defensive lineman. So he doesn't play a lot of downs. So people use that weapon against him why he shouldn't be in the Pro Bowl because he doesn't play a lot of downs and he doesn't start. At the same point, I could say it the opposite way. I say he doesn't play a lot of downs, but he still manages to record the numbers that he has this year, 10 sack season yet again. So I could use it the other way and just say, he should be in a Pro Bowl because, he still managed to get 10 sacks despite not playing a ton of downs. And if he doesn't make the Pro Bowl this year, it'll be just the first time since his rookie season that he had 10 sacks and did not get named to the Pro Bowl. Moving on, Akeem Hicks he's this guy more of an interior kind of defensive guy, defensive lineman for the Bears, who had a really good year. I think he had 8.5 sacks. I'm not gonna spend time looking at the stat. I'm not sure if I want. What the hell? I can't remember his name. Akeem. Damn. Oh well. I wasted a lot of time doing that, but he's an interior lineman for the Bears, I think. Please be right. I'll be upset if I actually mess this up. Yep, interior lineman, 8 sacks, 38 tackles on D-line. So he's probably a guy who should make the Pro Bowl based off those sack numbers and those tackle numbers, but he did not. There's some Bears fans who are upset about that. He would have been the only Bears player selected to the Pro Bowl this year if he had made it. Chris Kirksey's another guy. He's a linebacker for the Browns, so you understand why he didn't make it. He's a Browns player. There wasn't really anything reason to consider Browns player this year. But you look at him, he's a dynamic guy at the linebacker spot. Gets the forced fumbles, gets the pass deflection, sacks, and tackle numbers as well. Kind of similar to Telvin Smith, in my opinion, in terms of the numbers he produces. Just will never get consideration because of the team he's on. The only guy who would be Joe Thomas, and he's out for the year. Chris Harris Jr. didn't make it, which is surprising. He's a cornerback for the Denver Broncos. He was an All-Pro last year, which means he's basically one of the 2 best corners in the entire league, and he still didn't make it. That was last year. And he didn't make it this year, which is surprising because usually you don't see All-Pros drop off and then not make the Pro Bowl the next year, especially considering he was healthy and he played fairly decent. He's probably deserving of it. He just got booted out of the rankings because of the rise of Jalen Ramsey. He's one of the best safeties to never make the Pro Bowl or to get constantly underrated every year. He's a safety for the Lions. But as I already said, Harrison Smith didn't make the Pro Bowl, and if Harrison Smith didn't make the Pro Bowl, there's no way Glover Clune would. Justin Houston had a good bounce-back year after dealing with a couple years of injuries. This is a guy who plays for the outside linebacker for the Chiefs. Drafted in the same class as J.J. Watt and injuries the last couple of years. Came back, played basically the entire year. Produced 9.5 sacks, so a good year. He's made the Pro Bowl basically every other year. He's produced a kind of level of production. He hasn't been blitzing as much this year, but he still didn't make the Pro Bowl, which kind of surprises me considering I thought he would for sure. He's one of the best pass rushers of this generation, kind of this new, younger generation. But, I guess didn't put him in the Pro Bowl, which kind of surprises me. I wouldn't be shocked, though, if he gets in, because I think he's one of the next guys up, in my opinion. All right, moving on. Ndamukong Suh. Suh had a really good year this year. I know Suh's he's made the Pro Bowl a couple years where he probably shouldn't have, just kind of based on name brand stuff. This year he had a good year, though. This year he had a better year than his past, in my opinion, even though the stats doesn't look like it. He's had a good year, and somehow it doesn't make the Pro Bowl.